Commander Wu Bin stared at the screen in disbelief. The numbers could not be wrong. He had checked them 3 times already. The signal was real, and it was old. Very old. Dr. Park, you need to see this, he called across the control room of the Europa Deep Space Array. The massive station orbited Jupiter's moon Europa, far from Earth's noisy radio signals. Here, they could listen to the quiet voices of space. Dr. Park Hana looked up from her desk. She was the best language expert they had. If anyone could understand alien words, it would be her. She walked over to Wu Bin's station, her coffee still, steaming in the cold air. "What do you have?" she asked. Wu Bin pointed at the data. "This signal has been broadcasting for 4,000 years. It comes from outside our galaxy, from Andromeda." Park Hana's eyes went wide. 4,000 years? That's impossible. No one could keep a signal going that long. The computer says it's real. The signal is strong and clear. It repeats every 12 hours and 17 minutes. It has been doing this since before humans learned to write. Park Hana sat down and put on her headphones. The signal was not like anything she had heard before. It was not music or random noise. It had patterns, structure. It was language. "Play it again," she said. The alien voices filled her ears. There were several different sounds, like different people speaking different languages, but they all said the same thing over and over. She could feel the desperation in their voices, even without understanding the words. "This is a distress call," she whispered. For the next 6 hours, Park Hana worked on the signal. She used every computer program and language database they had. Slowly, patterns began to appear. Some words repeated more than others. Some sounds matched mathematical concepts. Finally, she had enough pieces to understand the message. "Commander," she called out. Her voice was shaking. "You need to hear this." Wu Bin came over. Other workers in the station gathered around too. Park Hana had written the translation on her screen. "The devourers have come. Our worlds fall one by one. We call to any who can hear us. Help us stop the endless hunger before it spreads beyond our galaxy. This is the Vectar Empire. We are dying. Please, someone answer." The room went silent. Everyone stared at the words. 4,000 years, Wu Bin said quietly. "They have been calling for help for 4,000 years. And no one answered," Park Hana added. The news reached Earth within hours. The United Government held emergency meetings. Scientists, military leaders, and politicians all argued about what to do. Some said it was too late. 4,000 years was too long. Whatever had happened was finished now. Others said it might be a trap. Maybe the aliens were lying. Maybe they were the real danger. But Captain Li Dong had a different idea. He was the head of Earth's rapid response fleet. He had spent his life helping people in trouble. He did not care if they were human or alien. "Someone needs to answer," he told the government leaders. These people called for help. For 4,000 years they kept calling. Maybe they are still alive. Maybe they are still fighting. We cannot ignore them. "It's too far," said one politician. "Andromeda is millions of light years away. Even with our fastest ships, it would take decades to get there." That was when engineer Kim Yuna spoke up. She was young but brilliant. She had been working on a new type of space drive. "I have been testing a new engine," she said. "It folds space instead of flying through it. I think I can get a ship to Andromeda in 6 months." The room erupted in arguments. Some called it impossible. Others called it dangerous. But Captain Li Dong was interested. "How many ships?" he asked. "Just one for now," Kim Yuna replied. "The technology is new. I need to test it first. One ship against whatever destroyed an entire galactic empire?" laughed a general. "That's suicide." "Maybe," Li Dong said, "but it's better than leaving them to die alone." The debate continued for days. Meanwhile, the signal kept broadcasting. Park Hana listened to it over and over. She began to understand more of the alien language. The message was not just a call for help, it was also a warning. "They say the devourers consume everything," she reported. "They eat planets, stars, entire solar systems. Nothing can stop them. The Vectar Empire had millions of worlds. Now they have only a few." "What do these devourers want?" asked Wu Bin. "Food," Park Hana said simply. "They are always hungry. And when they finish eating one galaxy, they move to the next. That changed everything. This was not just about helping aliens. This was about protecting Earth. If these devourers finish with Andromeda, Li Dong said, where will they go next? Everyone knew the answer. The Milky Way galaxy was the closest neighbor to Andromeda. The vote was close, but the decision was made. Earth would send a response team to Andromeda. Captain Li Dong would lead the mission. Kim Yuna would build her new engine. Dr. Park Hana would come to help communicate with any survivors. We need more people, Li Dong said. A doctor, a weapons expert, a pilot. Dr. Nam Su volunteered as the medical officer. Lieutenant Cho Mira joined as tactical officer. Pilot Ryu Jin was chosen to fly the ship. Kim Yuna worked day and night to build the fold drive. It was dangerous technology. It bent space and time in ways that no one fully understood. But it was their only chance to reach Andromeda quickly. The ship was called the Taeguk. It was not the biggest or strongest ship in Earth's fleet, but it was fast and had the best technology Earth could build. As the crew prepared for launch, they all understood what they were doing. They were leaving Earth to answer a call for help that was 4,000 years old. They might arrive to find nothing but empty space and dead worlds, or they might find an enemy that could destroy them easily, but they also knew something else. For 4,000 years, the Vectar had been calling for help, and for 4,000 years, no one had answered. Until now. On the day of launch, Bin stood in the control room and watched the Taeguk disappear in a flash of blue light. Kim Yuna's fold drive worked perfectly. The ship was gone, racing across the dark space between galaxies. Do you think they will find anyone alive? Asked Park Hana. Bin looked at the signal data on his screen. Even now, the call for help continued. It never stopped. It never gave up. I hope so, he said. Someone needs to know that their message was finally heard. In the depths of space, the ancient signal kept broadcasting. But for the first time in 4,000 years, someone was coming to answer. The Taeguk floated in the endless darkness between galaxies. Captain Li Dong stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. Behind them, the Milky Way looked like a small spiral of light. Ahead of them, Andromeda grew larger each day. How are we doing, Kim Yuna? He asked. Kim Yuna looked up from her engineering station. Her full drive hummed quietly in the background. The engine is working better than I hoped. We should reach Andromeda in 5 months instead of 6. That was good news. Every day counted. The alien signal was still broadcasting, but it was getting weaker. Either the transmitter was dying, or fewer people were left to send it. Dr. Nam Su was in the medical bay, preparing for whatever they might find. He had studied every piece of data about the Vectar Empire, but alien medicine was still a mystery. He could only hope that some things were the same for all living beings. Lieutenant Cho Mira spent her time in the weapons room. The Taeguk was not a warship, but it had the best defenses Earth could build. She checked every system twice. If these devourers were as dangerous as the signal claimed, they would need every advantage. Pilot Ryu Jin was happiest at the controls. Flying between galaxies was something no human had ever done before. The fold drive made space bend around them in strange ways. Sometimes he saw stars that should not exist. Sometimes he saw nothing at all. It's like swimming through an ocean of time, he told the others. Dr. Park Hana was the busiest of all. She listened to the alien signal every day, learning more of their language. She also studied other signals they picked up along the way. Most of them were old and dead, but they all told the same story. I found 17 different civilizations, she reported during their daily meeting. They all sent distress calls. They all mentioned the devourers. And they all went silent eventually. Captain Li Dong felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Earth had sent 6 people to face whatever had destroyed 17 civilizations. It seemed impossible. What can you tell us about these other species? He asked. Park Hana showed them pictures she had decoded from the signals. Some were like us. They walked on 2 legs and used tools. Others were very different. Some lived in water, some flew through the air, some were made of energy instead of flesh. All different, but all destroyed, Cho Mira said grimly. Not all, Park Hana corrected. The Vectar signal is still broadcasting. Someone is still alive. As the weeks passed, The crew began to understand how alone they were. The space between galaxies was empty in a way that hurt to think about. No planets, no stars, no life. Just darkness that went on forever. "I never realized how far we were traveling," Nam-Su said one evening. "If something goes wrong, no one can help us. Earth won't even know for years." "That's why we have to succeed," Li Dong replied. "We're not just exploring. We're fighting for the future of our galaxy." Kim Yuna's fold drive was performing perfectly, but she worried about other things. The energy readings from Andromeda were strange. Something massive was moving around in that galaxy, something that used more power than entire star systems. "Captain," she said during the third month, "I'm detecting unusual activity ahead. Whatever the Devourers are, they're still active. Can you tell what they're doing? It looks like they're building something huge." That news worried everyone. If the Devourers were still working after 4,000 years, it meant they had big plans. And since they had almost finished with Andromeda, those plans probably involved other galaxies. Ryu Jin noticed something else troubling. "The hyperspace routes are damaged," he reported. "I can see the paths that ships use to travel between stars, but most of them are broken, cut off. It's like someone destroyed all the roads." This told them how the Devourers fought. They did not just destroy planets and stars, they destroyed the ability to travel between them. They trapped civilizations in their own solar systems, then consumed them one by one. "Smart," Cho Mira admitted. "Divide your enemies. Make them fight alone." "That's why we're here," Li Dong said. "To make sure they don't fight alone anymore." Dr. Park Hana made another discovery in the fourth month. Hidden in the background of the alien signal was another message. It was much older and harder to understand. "This part is from before the Devourers came," she explained. "The Vector Empire was huge. Millions of worlds, billions of people. They had art, science, philosophy. They were explorers, like us." She showed them decoded images of Vector cities. They were beautiful, tall spires that seemed to grow like crystal trees, gardens that floated in the air, ships that looked more like living creatures than machines. "They built wonders," Nam-Su said quietly, "and now it's all gone." "Not all," Park Hana corrected again. "The signal proves that something survived. Someone is still fighting." As they entered the fifth month, Andromeda filled their view. It was a beautiful galaxy, larger than their own. But even from a distance, they could see that something was wrong. Dark spaces existed where stars should shine. Entire spiral arms looked dim and lifeless. "The damage is worse than we thought," Ryu Jin observed. "They've been eating this galaxy for thousands of years." Kim Yuna's instruments detected the source of the signal. It came from the outer edge of the galaxy, where the stars were youngest and brightest. Apparently, the Devourers preferred to eat older, more established systems first. "Makes sense," Cho Mira said. "Older systems have more planets, more life, more food." As they prepared to enter Andromeda, Captain Li Dong called the crew together one last time. "In a few days, we'll make first contact with an alien civilization," he said. "We don't know what we'll find. They might be gone. They might not trust us. They might be too weak to help themselves." He looked at each of his crew members. "But we came this far because someone was calling for help, and humans answer when people need help. That's who we are." Dr. Nam-Su checked his medical supplies. Lieutenant Cho Mira armed the ship's weapons. Pilot Ryu Jin plotted their course. To the signal source. Engineer Kim Yuna powered up the fold drive for what might be their last jump. Dr. Park Hana prepared her translation equipment. "Whatever we find," Li Dong continued, "we represent all of humanity. We show them that someone finally heard their call. Someone finally came." The fold drive activated, bending space around them. The Taeguk disappeared from the empty space between galaxies and reappeared in the outer rim of Andromeda. Immediately, alarms began ringing. Cho Mira's tactical station lit up with warnings. "Captain," she shouted, "I'm detecting multiple energy signatures. Something big is happening near the signal source." On the main screen, they could see explosions in the distance. Flashes of light that could only mean one thing. "Someone is fighting," Ryu Jin said. Li Dong felt his heart racing. After 4,000 years of silence, after 5 months of travel, they had arrived in the middle of a battle. "Take us in," he ordered. "Let's go answer their call." The battle was unlike anything the human crew had ever seen. Dark shapes moved through space like living shadows, attacking a massive space station. The station was beautiful, built with the same crystal-like design they had seen in the old pictures, but now it was damaged and bleeding light into space. "Those must be the Devourers," whispered Cho Mira. Her weapon systems were tracking the dark shapes, but they moved in ways that seemed impossible. They bent and twisted through space like smoke. Captain Li Dong watched the battle unfold. The space station was fighting back with weapons that turned space itself into fire. But there were too many attackers. The station was losing. "Ryu Jin, take us closer," he ordered. "We came here to help. Let's help." Dr. Park Hana was frantically working at her communication station. "I'm picking up signals from the station. It's the same language as the distress call. They're definitely Vectar." "What are they saying?" "They're calling for retreat. They want to abandon the station." Park Hana paused, listening harder. "Wait, they're detecting us. They can't believe someone is here." On the screen, they could see the space station changing course. Instead of running away, it was turning to face the unknown human ship. "They think we might be more Devourers," Namsu said. "Let's show them we're not," Li Dong decided. "Cho Mira, target the nearest Devourer. Fire everything we have." The Taeguk's weapons lit up space. Human technology was different from what the Vectar used, but it worked just as well. The dark shape they hit screamed, actually screamed, as it dissolved into nothing. The effect on the battle was immediate. The Vectar station stopped retreating. More weapons opened fire on the Devourers. Together, the human ship and alien station drove off the attackers. "They're gone," Ryu Jin reported. "The Devourers are pulling back." Park Hana's communication board exploded with activity. "The station is trying to talk to us. They want to know who we are and where we came from." "Tell them we heard their call," Li Dong said. "Tell them we came to help." The response from the station was a long silence. Then, slowly, a single message came through. Park Hana translated it with tears in her eyes. You actually came." After 4,000 years, someone finally answered. An hour later, Captain Li Dong stood in the docking bay of the Vectar station. The artificial gravity felt lighter than Earth's, and the air smelled like flowers. But what struck him most was the sadness in everything around him. The station was enormous, built to hold millions of people. But now it felt empty. The few Vectar he saw moved like ghosts through corridors that should have been full of life. Dr. Nam-Su walked beside him, scanning everything with his medical equipment. "Their biology is similar to ours," he whispered. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. They breathe oxygen, but they're much taller and thinner." The Vectar who greeted them was ancient. His skin was pale blue and covered with intricate patterns that seemed to shift in the light. His eyes were larger than human eyes, and they held the weight of centuries. "I am Elder Kathrun," he said in perfect English. Dr. Park Hana had given him the translation program they used for the signal. "I am the last leader of what was once the greatest empire in the galaxy." Li Dong bowed respectfully. "I am Captain Li Dong of Earth. We came because we heard your call for help." Kathrun stared at him for a long moment. "Earth, we do not know this world. From which part of the galaxy do you come?" "We don't come from this galaxy at all," Li Dong explained. "We come from the Milky Way. Your signal reached us across the space between galaxies." The old alien's legs gave out. He sat down heavily on a nearby bench. "Impossible. Our signal was not that strong. It could not reach another galaxy." Dr. Park Hana stepped forward. "We have very sensitive listening equipment. We heard your call and we came." 4,000 years, Kathrun whispered. "For 4,000 years we have been calling. Hundreds of civilizations heard us, but no one came. No one answered. Until now." He led them through the station, showing them what remained of his people. There were less than 3,000 Vectar left. Once, their empire had included millions of worlds and billions of people. "The Devourers came from the dark space beyond our galaxy," Kathrun explained. "At first, we thought they were just another species. Strange, but not threatening. We tried to communicate with them. They walked past a memorial wall covered with images of destroyed worlds. Each one showed a planet before and after the Devourers came. The before pictures showed cities, oceans, forests. The after pictures showed nothing but empty space. They do not communicate, Catherine continued. They do not negotiate. They do not show mercy. They simply consume everything. Stars, planets, space stations, ships, everything. What do they want? Asked Cho-Mira. Food, said a younger Vectar who joined them. I am Scout Velthar. I was the one who first detected your ship. The Devourers are always hungry. They eat matter, energy, even time itself. Namsu looked puzzled. Time? How can they eat time? We do not fully understand, Catherine admitted. But wherever they go, time moves differently. Slower in some places, faster in others. They change the very nature of space around them. They reached the station's command center. Here, the humans could see the true scope of the disaster. The walls showed a map of Andromeda Galaxy. Most of it was dark now. Only a few small areas still showed the light of living stars. This is what remains, Catherine said sadly. A few dozen systems, a handful of worlds. We are the last survivors of a galaxy that once held more life than you can imagine. But you're still fighting, Li Dong observed. We have no choice, Velthar replied. If we stop fighting, they will finish us, and then they will move to the next galaxy. The words sent a chill through the human crew. Li Dong asked the question they all feared. The next galaxy? Catherine nodded grimly. They have been preparing for years, building ships, gathering energy. We believe they plan to leave Andromeda soon, and the closest galaxy is the Milky Way, Li Dong finished. You're home, Catherine confirmed. Dr. Park Hana was working frantically with the Vectar communication systems. Captain, you need to see this. I'm decoding their recent intelligence reports. The screen showed images that made the humans gasp. Massive dark ships, each one the size of a moon. Millions of them, gathered at the center of Andromeda Galaxy. The Devourer fleet, Velthar explained. They are almost ready to leave. We estimate they will begin the journey to your galaxy within a year. How long would it take them to get there? Asked Kim Yuna. At their speed, perhaps 50 years, Catherine replied. But time moves strangely around them. They might arrive sooner. The implications were terrifying. Earth had no idea what was coming. Even if the Taeguk returned immediately to warn them, there might not be enough time to prepare. We have to stop them here, Li Dong said firmly, before they leave. Catherine looked at the 6 humans with something like hope in his ancient eyes. You would stay? You would fight with us? That's why we came, Cho-Mira said, to answer your call for help. But you are only 6 people, Velthar pointed out. The Devourers destroyed our entire empire. What can 6 people do? Li Dong smiled for the first time since arriving. You'd be surprised what humans can do when people need help. Over the next few hours, the humans learned everything the Vectar knew about their enemy. The Devourers were not just monsters. They were intelligent, organized, and patient. They had been planning the conquest of the Milky Way for thousands of years. But they also learned something else, something that gave them hope. There is one among us who has fought them longer than anyone, Catherine said mysteriously. Someone who arrived here long ago and has been our greatest weapon against the darkness. Who? Asked Namsu. We call him the Slayer, Velthar said with reverence. He is the only one who has ever made the Devourers afraid. Where is he? Li Dong asked. Catherine smiled sadly. At the center of the galaxy, fighting alone, as he has done for 4,000 years. 4,000 years? Park Hana repeated. That's impossible. No one lives that long. The Slayer is not like us, Catherine replied. He is something else, something the Devourers fear. Li Dong felt a strange feeling in his chest. Something about this mysterious Slayer seemed familiar. What does he look like? He asked. Catherine activated a holographic display. The image that appeared made all 6 humans gasp in shock. The Slayer was human. The journey to the center of Andromeda took 3 days. Captain Li Dong could not stop thinking about the image they had seen. The Slayer looked human, but that was impossible. Humans had never left Earth until recently. How could one of them be fighting in another galaxy for 4,000 years? Maybe it's just coincidence, Dr. Nam Su suggested. Maybe some aliens look like humans. But Kim Yuna had been studying the energy readings from the galaxy's center. I don't think so, she said quietly. The energy patterns are similar to my fold drive. Someone here is using technology like ours. The Vectar station followed them, carrying Elder Kathrun and Scout Velthar. The old alien had insisted on coming. If the Slayer meets more of his kind, I must be there, he had said. As they traveled deeper into the galaxy, they passed through the ruins of dead civilizations. Empty planets drifted in space like broken toys. Some had been cracked open like eggs. Others were completely gone, leaving only asteroid fields. This is what they do, Velthar explained. The Devourers take everything, not just life, but the planets themselves. They consume matter and turn it into energy for their ships. Dr. Park Hana was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. Most of the signals were old and dead, but near the center she detected something active. There's fighting happening ahead, she reported. Massive energy discharges. Someone is battling the Devourers right now. On the main screen, they could see flashes of light in the distance. The battles were enormous, involving weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. But somehow, the dark forces of the Devourers were being held back. The Slayer, Kathrun said with reverence. He never stops fighting. For 4,000 years, he has stood between the Devourers and the rest of the galaxy. Alone? Asked Cho. Mira. Always alone. That is his choice. They found the Slayer's base hidden inside a hollow planet. The world had been artificially carved out, creating a massive fortress in space. Weapons covered its surface like metal thorns. Ships moved in and out of hidden docks. How many people live here? Ryu Jin asked. Just one, Velthar replied. The Slayer builds everything himself. The ships, the weapons, the defenses. He is the only one who understands how to fight them effectively. The Taeguk was guided to a landing bay deep inside the planet. As they walked through the corridors, the human crew was amazed by what they saw. The technology was human in design, but far more advanced than anything on Earth. This looks like our engineering, Kim Yuna whispered. But it's hundreds of years ahead of us. They were led to a vast chamber at the planet's center. Here, a single figure stood studying holographic displays of the entire galaxy. He was tall and lean, wearing armor that seemed to be made of living metal. His hair was black and tied back in a traditional style. When he turned to face them, Captain Li Dong gasped. The man's features were definitely Asian. Korean, in fact. Elder Kathrun, the Slayer said in perfect Korean. You should not have come here. The center is too dangerous. The old alien bowed deeply. Great Slayer, these people have come from far away to answer our call. They are like you. The Slayer looked at the 6 humans with eyes that held the weight of centuries. I know who they are, he said, switching to English. I have been monitoring their ship since they arrived. He stepped closer, studying each face carefully. You are from Earth, from my home. Your home? Li Dong repeated. The Slayer smiled sadly. My name is Baktai. 4,000 years ago, I was a warrior king in the land that would one day be called Korea. I ruled a kingdom beside the great river. The humans stared in shock. Dr. Nam Su found his voice first. 4,000 years ago? That's impossible. No human lives that long. No human should, Baktai agreed. But I am no longer entirely human. He led them to another chamber where the walls were covered with images and text. It was the story of his arrival in Andromeda, told in ancient Korean writing. I was experimenting with my royal advisors, he explained. They were brilliant men who studied the stars and the movement of time. We built a device that could fold space, much like your ship does now. Kim Yuna stepped forward, fascinated. You built a fold drive 4,000 years ago? A primitive one, Baktai admitted. We did not understand what we were doing. The device activated during a battle with invaders from the north. Instead of folding space around my kingdom, it folded space around me. I was thrown across the universe to this galaxy. He showed them recordings of his first encounters with the Vectar Empire. They had found him floating in space, near death. They nursed him back to health and welcomed him as a friend. I lived among them for many years, he continued, I learned their language, their culture, their technology. I thought I would spend my remaining years in peace. But then the Devourers came. Catherine added. Baktai's expression grew dark. The first attack destroyed 17 systems in a single day. The Vectar had never faced anything like it. Their weapons could not hurt the Devourers. Their ships could not escape them. The recordings showed the early battles. The Vectar fought bravely, but they were losing badly. Their peaceful empire was not prepared for total war. That's when you began fighting, Velthar said. I had to, Baktai replied. These people had saved my life. They had given me a home when I was lost. I could not watch them die. But fighting the Devourers had changed him. The strange energies they used affected anyone who came too close. Over the centuries, Baktai had been exposed to these energies countless times. They made me stronger, he explained. Faster. They extended my life far beyond what any human should live. But they also made me something else, something that is not quite human anymore. He showed them his arms. Beneath the armor, his skin had a strange metallic sheen. When he moved, energy crackled around him like small lightning. The Devourer's own power courses through me now, he said. It is the only reason I can fight them effectively. Dr. Nam Su was studying the readings from his medical scanner. Your cellular structure is completely changed. You're like a hybrid of human and something else. Something alien, Baktai confirmed. The Devourers do not understand what I am. They fear me because I use their own power against them. Over the next few hours, he shared everything he had learned about the enemy. The Devourers were not just mindless monsters. They were controlled by a central intelligence that existed at the very heart of their fleet. Kill the central mind, and the rest will fall apart, he explained. That has been my plan for 4,000 years, but I cannot reach it alone. Why not? Asked Chomira. Because I am tired, Baktai admitted. 4,000 years of constant fighting, 4,000 years of loneliness. I am stronger than any human, but I am still mortal. I need help. He showed them the location of the Devourer central mind. It was hidden deep within their massive fleet, protected by millions of ships and weapons that could destroy planets. Even with my power, I cannot fight through all of that, he said. But with modern human technology and tactics, Kim Yuna was already studying the problem. My full drive could get us past their outer defenses, but we would need a way to destroy something that big. I know their weakness, Baktai said. The central mind is not physical. It exists in a space between dimensions, but it needs anchor points in our reality to function. Anchor points? Li Dong asked. Special crystals that focus dimensional energy. Destroy enough of them, and the central mind will be pulled back to its own dimension. Without it, the Devourers will lose coordination and attack each other. It was a plan that might work, but it would require all of them working together. The humans with their modern technology, Baktai with his ancient knowledge, and the remaining Vectar with their ships and weapons. It will be dangerous, Baktai warned. Many of us will not survive. Captain Li Dong looked at his crew. He saw determination in their faces. They had come this far to answer a call for help. They would not turn back now. We didn't come here to be safe, he said. We came here to stop the Devourers before they reach our galaxy. Baktai smiled for the first time in centuries. Then you truly are my people. Koreans have always been stubborn about protecting others. Elder Catherine stepped forward. The remaining Vectar will follow you both. We have nothing left to lose and everything to gain. As they began planning the final assault, Baktai pulled Captain Li Dong aside. You should know, he said quietly. This mission will probably kill me. I have been fighting for so long that I have forgotten how to live in peace. But perhaps that is for the best. Why? Li Dong asked. Because if we succeed, if we stop the Devourers, then my people will be safe, both the Vectar and the humans of Earth. That is worth any price. Li Dong clasped the ancient warrior's shoulder. We'll succeed together, and then you can come, home with us. See how Earth has changed. Baktai's eyes brightened slightly. Home. I had not thought of that possibility in a very long time. The preparations would take several days. But for the first time in 4,000 years, the galaxy had hope. The Slayer was no longer alone. The combined fleet gathered at the edge of Devourer space. It was not large, Only 30 ships carrying the last survivors of the Vectar Empire and one small human vessel. But it carried something more important than numbers. It carried hope. Captain Li Dong stood on the bridge of the Taeguk, watching the enemy fleet ahead. The Devourer ships stretched across space like a dark ocean. There were millions of them, each one the size of a city. At their center, a massive structure pulsed with alien energy. The central mind, Bak Tai said beside him, the ancient warrior, wore his living armor and carried weapons that hummed with power. 4,000 years I have dreamed of reaching it. Kim Yuna was at her engineering station, making final adjustments to the fold drive. The jump will take us directly to the center of their fleet, but we'll only have minutes before they surround us. Minutes are all we need, Bak Tai replied. I know where the anchor crystals are located. Destroy them, and the central mind falls. Dr. Nam Su had set up a medical station on the bridge. He did not expect to treat many wounds. This battle would be won or lost quickly. Lieutenant Cho Mira was coordinating with the Vectar ships. Elder Kathrun reports his forces are ready. They'll create a distraction while we make our run. Pilot Ryu Jin flexed his fingers on the controls. I've never flown into the middle of an enemy fleet before. Just get us there in one piece, Li Dong said. We'll handle the rest. Dr. Park Hana was monitoring communications. The Devourers did not speak, but their ships sent signals to each other. They know we're here. They're moving to intercept. Let them come, Bak Tai said grimly. Today, 4,000 years of war ends. The battle began with the Vectar ships attacking from multiple directions. Their crystal weapons lit up space as they struck the dark hulls of Devourer vessels. The enemy responded immediately, sending waves of shadow ships to meet them. Now, Li Dong ordered. Kim Yuna activated the fold drive. Space bent around the Taeguk, and suddenly they were in the heart of the enemy fleet. Massive ships surrounded them on all sides. The central mind structure loomed ahead like a black mountain in space. There! Bak Tai pointed to spots of brilliant light on the structure. The anchor crystals. We must destroy them all. Cho Mira armed every weapon they had, targeting the first crystal. The Taeguk's weapons fired, but the energy beams passed right through the crystal without effect. Physical weapons won't work, Bak Tai explained. The crystals exist partially in another dimension. You need to disrupt their dimensional anchor. How? Kim Yuna asked. With this. Bak Tai held up a device that looked like a cross between a sword and a tuning fork. But I have to get close. Very close. Li Dong understood immediately. You're going to board that thing. It's the only way. Dr. Nam Su grabbed his medical kit. I'm going with you. No, Bak Tai said firmly. This is something I must do alone. Like hell, Cho Mira said, checking her weapons. We came here together. We finish this together. Before Bak Tai could argue, Ryu Jin spoke up. I can get you there, but we'll have to use the shuttle, and we'll be flying through the middle of a war zone. Devourer ships were converging on them from all directions. The Taeguk shook as dark energy. Weapons struck its shields. We don't have time to argue, Li Dong decided. Cho Mira, Nam Su, go with Bak Tai. The rest of us will keep the ship safe and provide cover. The shuttle launched from the Taeguk's bay with 4 people aboard. Ryu Jin piloted through a storm of weapons fire, while Bak Tai guided them toward the central structure. The first crystal is in the northern tower, he said, but we'll have to fight our way there. The shuttle landed hard on the structure's surface. It was like stepping onto a living nightmare. The floor pulsed with dark energy, and the air was filled with whispers in languages that hurt to hear. Stay close, Bak Tai warned. This place affects the mind. They fought through corridors filled with shadows that moved like liquid. Cho Mira's weapons worked here, but barely. Dr. Nam Su stayed close to her, treating wounds that appeared from nowhere. The first crystal chamber was enormous. The crystal itself was beautiful and terrible, a pillar of light that stretched from floor to ceiling. Around it, dark shapes danced in patterns that made no sense. Cover me, Bak Tai said, raising his dimensional disruptor. The device activated, with a sound like reality tearing. The crystal cracked, then shattered in a burst of multicolored light. Immediately, the whispers became screams. 1 down, he said. 4 more to go. They fought their way to the second crystal, then the third. Each time, the structure around them became more unstable. The central mind was beginning to panic. At the fourth crystal, they were attacked by something that might have been the Devourer's true form. It was darkness given shape, with too many teeth and eyes that showed the death of stars. Cho-Mira emptied her weapons into it while Nam-Su dragged Bak-Tai to safety. The ancient warrior was bleeding light instead of blood. "The dimensional energy," he gasped. "It's tearing me apart." "Just one more," Nam-Su said, sealing his wounds as best he could. "You can do this." The final crystal was in the structure's heart. Here, the central mind itself was visible, a swirling mass of thought and hunger that had consumed galaxies. So much death, it spoke directly into their minds. So much beautiful death. Why do you resist? "Because someone called for help," Bak-Tai replied, raising his disruptor. "And humans always answer." The device activated for the last time. The final crystal exploded, and the central mind shrieked as it was pulled back into its own dimension. Throughout the Devourer fleet, ships began attacking each other. Without central coordination, they reverted to their basic nature. Endless hunger that recognized no allies. But the structure was collapsing around them. Bak-Tai was too weak to move, his body dissolving as the dimensional energies left him. "Go," he whispered to the others. "I'll hold the portal open long enough for you to escape." "We're not leaving you," Cho-Mira said firmly. "You have to. Someone needs to tell Earth what happened here. Someone needs to make sure this never happens again." "Doctor." Nam-Su was trying everything he could, but Bak-Tai's condition was beyond any medicine. "I can't save him. The dimensional exposure is too severe." "Then we stay with him," Cho-Mira decided. But Bak-Tai smiled one last time. "No, you go home. Tell them about the Vectar. Tell them about the galaxy that called for help. Tell them that—" Someone finally answered. They carried him back to the shuttle as the structure crumbled around them. Ryujin flew through the chaos of the collapsing Devourer fleet while Bak-Tai grew weaker. "Did we win?" he asked quietly. Through the shuttle's windows, they could see the Devourer ships destroying each other. The threat that had consumed galaxies was tearing itself apart. "We won!" Li Dong's voice came over the radio from the Taeguk. "The central mind is gone. They're all fighting each other now." Bak-Tai closed his eyes peacefully. Good. Then it was worth it. He died as they reached the Taeguk, his body finally giving up after 4,000 years of impossible fighting. But he died knowing that his mission was complete. The battle ended within hours. Without the central mind, the Devourers consumed each other until only empty ships drifted in space. The threat to both galaxies was over. Elder Catharoon wept when they told him of Bak-Tai's sacrifice. "He saved us all, the greatest warrior our galaxy has ever known." The surviving Vectar began the long work of rebuilding their civilization. With human help, they would restore their worlds and create new ones. The galaxy would live again. 6 months later, the Taeguk returned to Earth carrying news of victory and alliance. They brought Vectar technology and knowledge, gifts from a grateful people. But they also brought something else. In the ship's memory banks, they carried every story the Vectar had told them. Stories of their empire, their culture, their long fight for survival. And they carried the story of Bak-Tai, the human warrior who had answered an alien call for help 4,000 years before his own people reached the stars. Captain Li Dong stood before the United Government, delivering his final report. "The threat is over," he said, "but we learned something important. When people call for help, someone has to answer. It doesn't matter how far away they are or how long they've been calling. It doesn't matter if they're human or alien." He looked out at the representatives of Earth's nations. 4,000 years ago, a warrior from our own world heard that call and answered it. He fought alone for longer than our recorded history. He saved 2 galaxies. "And now?" asked one representative. "Now we continue his work. We listen to the universe. And when someone calls for help, we answer. Because that's who we are. That's what humans do." Years later, the story of the Slayer became legend on both Earth and in the rebuilt Vectar Empire. Children learned about the ancient warrior who fought for people he had never met, in a galaxy far from home. But the real lesson was simpler. When someone calls for help, someone else will always answer. It might take time. It might cost everything. But the call will never go unanswered. In the depths of space, new signals broadcast from the alliance between humans and Vector. Not calls for help this time, but offers of it. "This is the Terran-Vector Alliance," the message said in 100 different languages. "If you need help, we will come, no matter how far, no matter how long it takes. Someone is always listening."